Now we have 7:30, so I will call the Oxford City Council's regular meeting to order. Ms. Barber, you may call the roll.
Mr. Vinch,
Here.
Mr. Bracken,
Here.
Ms. Franklin,
Here.
Ms. Ornelas,
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance if you would like to join us.
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Before we do that, I'd like to add an item to the agenda. If I can add appointments to boards and commissions as item B, and then move public comment to item C.
All right. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Ornelas. All those in favor of the change, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. And may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Franklin,
Second.
second by Councilor Bracken. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We will begin tonight with a proclamation. Find a copy here. Do we have the proclamation? This is in honor of Education and Sharing Day in Oxford. Whereas the basis for continuity of any society is education. In Oxford, the education of our youth is a priority. And whereas, in order to achieve its highest goals, education must not only impart knowledge, but also to teach students how to live, forming and strengthening their moral character to make better lives for themselves as individuals and for society as a whole, imparting moral and ethical values that have been the bedrock of society since the dawn of civilization, including the values known as the 7 Noahide Mitzvah. And whereas a global spiritual leader, the Rebbe Rabbi Menachem Shearson, stressed that a moral and ethical education empowers every individual to develop their full potential in making the world a better place. And whereas such an education can nurture the unity of diverse peoples through encouraging increased acts of goodness and kindness with an awareness that even a single positive act can change the world and usher in an era of global peace. And whereas March 29th, 2026 will mark the 121st anniversary of the Rebbe's birth, and Education and Sharing Day is observed annually on this date in recognition of his outstanding and enduring contributions to the advancement of education, moral values, and charitable service throughout the world, serving as a time to pause and reflect on our shared responsibility to ensure that our youth are given the foundation necessary to lead lives rich in purpose, meaning, and fulfillment through service and good works. And therefore I, Michael Smith, Mayor of the City of Oxford, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Sunday, March 29th as Education and Sharing Day Oxford, and call upon everyone to work together to create a better, brighter, and more promising future for all.
Mushka Greenberg, 111 East Spring Street. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, council members, and city leaders for this meaningful proclamation recognizing Education and Sharing Day. Education Day, inspired by the teachings of Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, reminds us that education is not only about knowledge or academic success. True education is about building character, developing responsibility, and inspiring young people to become caring and ethical members of society. In a time when our world faces many challenges, the importance of education that emphasizes kindness, respect, and moral values is greater than ever. When we invest in the future of our children, we invest in the future of our entire community. On behalf of Chabad and the Jewish community, I want to express our deep appreciation to the city for recognizing Education Day and for your commitment to supporting education and positive values. Together, by strengthening education and nurturing the next generation, we help build a stronger, kinder, and more hopeful future for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to appointments to boards and commissions. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we appoint to the Board of Tax Review Edna Southard and Chris Scogland, and the city manager's appointment to the Board of Tax Review would be Kevin McEwen.
Second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Ornelas. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right, now we will move on to public comments. Anyone wishing to address council about items not on the agenda or on the consent agenda, please come forward at this time and state your name and address for the record. All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Franklin, second by Counselor Snavely. Any items to be removed tonight? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We will move to resolutions. Ms. Barber, you may read the first resolution whenever you're ready.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated for body-worn camera equipment, software, licensing, data storage, user profiles, and support for the police division at a cost not to exceed $289,800.02 for the life of the contract, subject to the law director's approval of the contract.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Franklin, second by Counselor Ornelas. Chief Jones?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, it's council. I'm going to have Lieutenant Robinson present this item. He was the primary negotiator with Axon in this and knows more of the details than I do. So,
Thank you, Chief, Mayor, Council. This is a new contract with Axon Enterprises. They are a body-worn camera provider. We've been with them for 5 years, have been very happy with them. Just like you have with a cell phone in the old days, you have to renegotiate your contracts every few years, and we're at that point. So this would allow us to get into 2025 pricing if we get this approved tonight, so that we don't see that increase. They were able to extend that to us through the first quarter of this year. So we've gone back and forth, and I think we've got a good contract in front of you. And your resolution will allow the city manager to sign that at his earliest convenience.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution before council? All right, seeing none, council questions, discussion?
I'm always interested in the pre-record time. I've brought this up before. I was wondering if this is the same. How long is it? Can we set it?
It's the same system we've had for the past 5 years. We've had success with getting new equipment, and we have found that the times have worked great for us. It is 30 seconds look back on the times. Audio will not start until it's activated by the officer.
Yeah. I always push for the longer time because I think it adds so much more context to a lot of situations. Sometimes it's not necessary, but that's a little separate from the purchase, but it's something I always want to bring up for us to consider.
So are any terms and conditions of the contract changed other than price?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
We do have to have the law director review this first, as we do with everything. And I'm sure we'll strike out the indemnification if it still exists in there, as our usual conversation with him goes.
All right, I think we've been real happy so far with our body cameras, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Barber, you may read the next resolution.
A resolution designating public depositories of active public funds for a 5-year period commencing April 6, 2026.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
second.
Moved by Counselor Franklin, second by Counselor Snavely, and I'll turn it over to Finance Director right now.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. In my staff report, I stated that the 5-year agreement for the banking depository services with the current bank will expire on April 5th, but we actually did a 1-year extension last year, so it's actually a 6-year contract. The request for qualifications for bank depository services for the next 5 years was issued in January and was due by 1 p.m. on February 17th. 5 banks responded to the depository RFQ. Proposals received from First Financial Bank, Farmers and Merchant State Bank, LCNB National Bank, Fifth Third Bank, and Huntington Bank. The basis for the decision, as stated in the evaluation criteria of the RFQ, the fees for services and interest rates will not be the sole determining factor in selecting the bank. The City of Oxford understands that it is important to use a structured process that fairly compares different agencies based on a number of factors. The criteria for evaluating these proposals were based upon a combination of factors: bank qualifications, experience with public sector, proximity to the City of Oxford, list of general and specialized services, demonstrated experience with specialized services, and public sector reference, which I guess is the same with experience with public sector. Based on our qualitative review of the proposals we received, we are recommending that First Financial Bank remain as the primary depository for the City of Oxford funds, and Lebanon Citizens National Bank as the backup depository for the City of Oxford funds.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution before council? All right, seeing none. Council questions and discussion? All right, I think we're all pretty happy with First Financial, so,
So I do have a question.
okay.
So in section 1 of the ordinance, in the second paragraph, it says a depository account will be retained with LCNB National Bank for the convenience by proximity for the deposit. Oh, I see. Where in there does it say that First Financial will be designated?
It's,
I don't think it does.
I apologize, I don't have that.
It says that
Section
act
1,
as
yeah.
a secondary depository.
Okay, I see now. All right. Yeah, I was wrong. Thank you.
All good? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, that resolution is adopted. Ms. Barber, you may read the next one.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Atlantic Emergency Solutions for the purchase of a 2026 Ram Horton ambulance at specified options at state contract pricing at a cost not to exceed $385,406.17.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Franklin, second by Councilor Snavely. I'll turn it over to Chief Dethridge.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's time to buy an ambulance again. As you all know, we run those things a lot, and they get a lot of use. And it's time to continue with another purchase to keep our fleet in good shape and keep up with the additional use they seem to be getting. We spent the last year looking at various manufacturers and basically came back to Horton, who we've bought the last 3 from. Better price than the others we looked at, and also we'll basically be getting another one that's identical to the last one. So it makes it easier for the guys when they're looking for things in an emergency situation. We can keep things in the same places. The purchase is off the Ohio State term schedule. Total price is $385,406.17. And we were able to work a deal. I'm sure most of you are aware there's issues in the fire and EMS industry right now with delivery times. Atlantic Emergency Solutions was nice enough to offer up a spot that they had in line, in the manufacturing line, for a demo unit. Our unit will be placed in that spot, and it will be constructed in November of this year.
Wow.
It pays to be a good customer. And I think that's all I've got, unless you have questions.
All right, let me see if there's anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution before council. All right, seeing none, council discussion, questions?
What is the typical lifespan of a good ambulance?
Well, the first one that I purchased when I came here is a 2010, and we're gonna keep it and keep using it. That way we'll have a backup, so if one's out, we'll still have three. We'll be able to cover multiple events at the same time and still have two on the road. And the 2010's still in decent shape. It's holding up well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is my third ambulance purchase as my tenure as a counselor.
It would be.
All right, if there's no more questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, looks like we're getting an ambulance. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. Ms. Barber, you may read the first reading.
An ordinance repealing Oxford Codified Ordinance Section 50703 entitled Fire Civil Citations and adopting new Oxford Codified Ordinance Section 50703 entitled Fire Civil Citations.
All right, Chief Deathridge?
Hello again. In 2025, the Ohio Fire Marshal's Office finished a long process of updating for a new fire code. Once that was done, they completed the process. It was made into law by the state. And when they did that, there were some things that were moved around in the code that changed some numbers that reflect in 507.03, the Fire Civil Citation section of the Oxford Code. Mostly it's housekeeping type stuff, a couple of changes in the titles, and a couple of changes in section numbers. And also going to use this opportunity to add two things to it. Chapter 1519 of the Oxford Codified Ordinances, entitled Fireworks. That section, it matches with what council had decided before, was to keep the previous fireworks ordinances that were in place before the state changed to allow fireworks on certain holidays. So that will add that into there. And also the section that has to do with temporary membrane structures and tents. So it will allow us to cite people who erect a tent without a permit. Like I said, other than that, the rest of it's just housekeeping items.
And John, you might mention the size of the tent. It's not for very small tents.
Correct, it's not for very small tents, it's just for ones that, that meet the qualifications under the fire code or the building code. I think it's 20 by 20 and larger.
It's like a big event tent.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my main question, so.
Yeah, the ones that the rental companies put up, not the
Not pub
pop-ups from Walmart, yeah.
Where the kids sleep in the backyard.
Correct, those don't apply to this either.
Thank you.
All right, let me see if there's anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council. All right, seeing none, any further questions or discussion?
I was just concerned about the tents, so I think he's answered the question.
All right, this is a first reading, so we will see this again.
We won't be citing any 5-year-olds.
Next month.
Kids got a camp.
All right, we will move on to second readings. Ms. Barber, you may read the second reading.
An ordinance dedicating certain city-owned real property abutting US Route 27 as public right-of-way.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Funkin, second by Counselor Snavely, and we've got Mr. Otto tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. Don't have any changes from the first reading, so just here to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council? Okay, seeing none, I will remind everybody that this just has to do with some parcels of property that we own. Mr. Snavely?
I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Otto, for all the work that you and your staff did on this, because it's really tedious, I'm sure, to go through and find all those little pieces, and I'm very happy that you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So could you just clarify for me, because I don't understand the last sentence. I'm looking at the staff report, and it says, by dedicating these stranded parcels as right-of-way, maintenance responsibilities will be clarified for both the city and abutting property owners. What will those maintenance responsibilities be after this ordinance?
Maybe I'll jump in here. We had a lot of property that we acquired when we did US 27 North and US 27 South. You'll see that on the list of parcels. And so they became public parcels, but not right of way. So we're taking these public parcels and dedicating them as public right of way. So that's what this is all about,
So who will be responsible for maintaining and,
the private property owner.
okay, that's what I was
Yes.
looking for.
And just as kind of a follow-up to that, I asked that, because this will affect some snow removal areas, property owners will now definitely be responsible for snow removal, that we notify these property owners that they're getting these pieces of property deeded as right-of-way. So
And
they
we will
understand.
do that. And of course, this ordinance isn't effective for, if you pass it tonight, it's not effective for 30 days. So we don't expect to have to do anything with these parcels this year, but who
May
knows?
there not be snow in 30
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, we say a lot of prayers when the snowflakes start falling.
All right, if there's no more questions. We'll call the roll.
Mr. Bracken?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Ornelas?
Yes.
Mr. Snavely?
Yes.
Mr. Vince?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes. That ordinance is adopted. We will move on to our second reading whenever you're ready.
An ordinance to regulate the rates and charges to be charged and collected and the services to be rendered by Glenwood Energy of Oxford Incorporated, its successors and assigns for gas and gas service furnished to all its customers within the corporate limits of the city of Oxford during the period ending April 30th, 2029, and repealing and superseding the ordinance number 3689, which together previously regulated such rates, charges, and services.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Franklin, second by Counselor Ornelas. Mr. Elliott.
Yeah, so I'll just summarize what I had read to you the last reading. So we set the rates, the city of Oxford sets the rates for Glenwood Energy's Oxford customers. And if an agreement is not reached, Glenwood Energy may apply to the PUCO. And as I said before, the main components of Glenwood Energy's rate structures are a gas cost recovery, GCR rate, a fixed meter charge, and a general service rate, GSR. The gas cost recovery rate is based on the price which Glenwood must pay to purchase gas, and it varies depending on the market and is passed directly on to the consumer. It is not part of the rate-making process, nor is Glenwood entitled to earn a profit on it. The GCR rate, the gas cost recovery rate, varies and was 9.0217 per MCF for the month of January 2026. So it comprises about 50 to 70% of a customer's monthly bill, this gas cost recovery. Glenwood is entitled to collect on several other riders, fees, and charges which remain the same with the proposed ordinance discussed below, with the exception of one fee, and that fee is the gas pressure test fee, which is section 9.I, and it is increased from $80 to $90. So the city has reached a tentative agreement with Glenwood Energy on the proposed rate adjustments. The proposed ordinance would increase the monthly residential meter charge for all 3 years from $14 to $22, and that's the residential rate, and the monthly commercial rate would increase from $20 to $28 per meter for all 3 years. The GSR would remain at the current rate of $3.46 per MCF for both residential and commercial industrial customers. And I pointed out that Duke Energy's current residential monthly meter charge is $43.29, so this is well below that. And so I'm recommending adoption of this ordinance this evening, and these rates would be effective then May 1st.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this ordinance before council? All right, seeing none. Council questions? Mr. Snavely?
Have we done an analysis of other communities and other gas systems to find out to what extent these rates will be in line or above or below what other communities?
Well, as I
in the
pointed
area?
out, we did compare ourselves to Duke. And the only other private, public, gas company would be the city of Hamilton. Duke serves pretty much all of southwest Ohio. They service Westchester, Liberty, so on and so forth. But so our meter charge is much less than theirs, and our gas general service rate is also less than theirs. And I didn't put that in my report, but we did look at that. And as Jim Bench pointed out at the last meeting, they had proposed a lowering of the general service rate, but coupled with that was an even higher rate for the meter for the second and third years. And I didn't feel that that was good for the city. Basically, you have a fixed meter charge, and you have the variable charge based on your gas consumption. So for someone utilizing, let's say, 6,000, where's my sheets? There we go.
So if somebody, let's say, has gas heat, and so they use the gas for about 3 months, maybe 4, every year, are they still then getting all these basic charges throughout the rest of the year, the other 8 months?
Well, the two charges we're focused on here are the monthly meter charge and the gas
That's what I'm
service
talking
rate.
about.
Yeah, and so,
I'm not talking about the variable part, I'm talking about the fixed rates.
well, the fixed meter charge, we've made it the same for all 3 years.
But it is charged every month,
It's charged every month.
whether people use the gas or not.
Yeah. Let me give you a couple of examples. Now, this all depends on how high you set your thermostat, how big your house is, whether it's well insulated or not. So if a customer uses in a year 60 MCF per year, and an MCF is 1,000 cubic feet, there would be a savings of $46.80 over what Glenwood Energy had proposed, and that was a much higher meter charge in the second and third years and a lowering of the general service rate. For someone using 80 MCF in a year, the savings is only $14.40. And so you can see that if you're a bigger consumer, you're not going to see the savings that someone that uses 60 MCF per year. And I did point out in my report to council that in the city of Oxford, excuse me while I flip some pages here, if we look at the American Community Survey for 2019 to 2023, there are 5,875 occupied housing units. And of these, 3,122, or 53.1%, use natural gas for home heating fuel, and 45% then use electricity for home heating. So we have a mix in our community, and so we felt that this was the best resolution of their request for an update.
So I understand his answer, that it is the best that he thinks we could have gotten. I just think it's fundamentally unfair to charge people a meter rate for 8 months out of the year when they're not using any gas at all. And I just think that's a problem, especially for people on fixed income and who may not use a whole lot of gas, and they try very hard to keep their house as cool as they can tolerate to keep the cost down, and then they're getting this charge. I have even billing. I don't use a whole lot of gas, but it runs to like $150 a month. Well, that's a lot of money for somebody not using the product really for 8 months.
And just to remind council, we did look at Duke, and their meter charge is $43.29, residential meter charge. This proposal is $22, so we're $21.29 cheaper each month than Duke Energy.
Has it always historically been done this way? So this is not like a new charge, right? People have been paying this monthly charge.
charge,
And they're
yeah.
used to paying it, and it's
Yeah,
not a
and
new
we
thing.
have it on water and sewer ourselves, too, a fixed charge.
The only difference is we use the water
Yeah.
and the sewer every month.
Right.
We use electricity every month. We don't use necessarily gas.
Right.
That's,
I mean,
that's my
Hot water
problem with
heater.
it.
I suppose some people could have they can have their gas bill spread out throughout the year.
Yeah, they have
Right.
level billing.
They have level
Yeah.
billing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that makes it any
So
more
if,
fair.
if my level billing was $153, then imagine what it would be if it was just during the winter months.
And like I said, if we don't reach an agreement, they have the opportunity to go to PUCO and file for an increase. We've always reached an agreement with them. It wasn't that long ago, a different company owned the gas company, and the transfer of ownership happened in, I think, like 2007.
Well, I think with this, it's a little better to, pay a little bit more for your meter a month than it was going to be for them to increase the basic gas rate in the coming years. I have gas heat and a gas hot water heater, so I use it every month, so I don't feel so bad. But I'd be curious to know how many households just have gas heat and no other gas appliances.
Well, a lot of folks with gas heat also probably have a gas water heater.
Yeah,
that they're
yeah, that's
using
what I have.
year-round.
Any other questions? All right. Ms. Barber, you may call the roll.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Ornelas?
Yes.
Mr. Snavely?
Reluctant, yes.
Mr. Vince?
Yes.
Mr. Bracken?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes. That ordinance is adopted. We will move on to our third second reading whenever you're ready.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 3844, supplemental budget ordinance number 1, to make supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2026.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilor Franklin, second by Councilor Ornelas, and we're back to Finance Director Ridenhour.
Hello again. I bring before you tonight one change to the supplemental appropriation ordinance, and that is to add $39,000 to the appropriation and revenue for the mayor's court with a better cost analysis of half-year salaries and startup costs. Jessica was researching some salaries comparable for this position and looked into some of the software. We will be going on a trip to the city of Monroe tomorrow, so we can view all of their software and just processes for their mayor's court, so we can get a better handle on all of this. But in order to start moving forward, we need to have an appropriation to do so.
All right, let me see if there's anyone from the public that would like to address this ordinance before council. All right, seeing none. Council questions, Mr. Snavely, see your hand up.
I do have a couple of questions. The first question is really probably for City Manager Elliott. Why is it important for us to make this change to the budget now when we're not going to be having a court until much later? And we don't really know you haven't even done your comparative study. It could be higher or lower than we don't know. That's my first question. Why now?
Well, it's not that big of a jump. Let me just
No, I just don't want any of it
Yeah.
in there necessarily until we know what we're getting.
Well, one of the first positions that we need to hire is a mayor's court clerk. And until I have an appropriation, I can't do that. There were some fixed costs that may be in the original estimate, which was $100,000, I think, and now we're up to
Who was?
$139,000. That maybe I underestimated, but let me assure you that if this mayor's court turns out to be a drain for the general fund, those of you that have worked with me a number of years will know that I'll be the first to come in and recommend to you that we undo it and then send everybody over to Hamilton But right now, I feel that the revenue that we bring in is going to meet our expenses. You know, unlike a mayor's court, every mayor's court budget that I looked at, and that was at least half a dozen, is subsidized by the general fund in those cities. And even the Area 1 court in Area 2 and 3 is subsidized by the county. You know, it has some revenue that comes in, but it only covers about 50% of their cost. Mayor's courts don't have the same expenses, and they typically meet the expenses they have with the fines and forfeitures they have. So, but if it proves different, I'll be the first to come in and say, let's undo this, because we don't need a drain on the general fund.
So a lot of these charges that, fines and so forth that would come to the mayor's court, are they given by Miami University Police, or are they all given by City of Oxford
Well,
Police?
right now, I believe the Miami police cite under the state law, not
I understand
local
that,
code.
and that's
So-
going to be the second part of my question.
So they will have to go to Hamilton unless they decide that they'll cite under the Oxford codified ordinances.
So have you talked with Miami University yet?
I think Chief Jones has mentioned it to them, but that'll be their decision. And
It just seems to me, I'm not opposed to a mayor's court. I've already spoken in favor of the concept. But if Miami does not cooperate, then this makes no sense at all. It's an absolute waste of our money, in my opinion, if in fact you're correct that the majority of the ticket writing would be made by Miami University.
well, that's not the case.
Well, that's what was my question, and you
No,
just
the-
answered it.
I believe that you'll find that we cite a lot more students than Miami does for underage drinking. Why is that? Because most of it occurs off campus. So,
Don't you think, though, we should find out whether Miami University is willing to cooperate with us before we expend $139,000 in our budget?
this is just an estimate.
I
and A lot
understand
of it
that.
depends on when we get it up and running. You know, I would have,
It could be a lot more.
staff decided to suggest that I had underestimated, and I went along with it. I was fearful that it would raise the ire of council, and it has, but bottom line is, we really don't know until we advertise for a magistrate and decide what we have to pay. We'll have a contract with that person. But as far as Miami is concerned, you know, if we don't have their caseload, it'll be that many less cases that we'll have, that fewer hours that the magistrate will need to be paid and the prosecutor. So, you know, this is all, we're looking at Monroe because I believe their caseload will be similar to ours. And, you know, but I get it, this is brand new, we've never had a mayor's court. Well, we did have a mayor's court years ago. And I can't tell you when it ceased to exist, you know, probably when the Area 1 court came in. But, you know, this is brand new. We're using the best examples that we have. And like I said, it will not be a burden on the general fund, or I'll be the first to come in and tell you that we need to undo this. And, you know, the effect, the unintended consequence will be the effect on the lawyers that come here that are, you know, in town, and also the businesses uptown that get, that sell coffee, sandwiches when the Area 1 court meets. But, you know, I'm focused on our general fund, as you know, and if it's a drain on the general fund, I will come in and tell you that this is not working out.
So if that happens, what happens to the 3 people that we employ?
Well, we'll have a contract with 2 of them, and the third one will be a full-time employee, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I
Seems like a
believe-
pretty big bridge.
Well, I believe it's gonna work out.
So just to provide a little bit of an alternative perspective,
Yes.
in general, my concern, and I think most of the public and the commentators' concerns about mayor's courts is that cities use them as cash printing machines. They overutilize them to generate revenue, and I think it takes a lot of careful thinking to not turn them into that. And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Oxford is not going to do that. Like, I'm hoping that we're not going to use it as a cash generating machine. I hope that we'll use it just to break even. And I'm pretty
Yeah, I agree.
so I think that, I'm not concerned about us abusing the system.
You know, most of the places where they abuse it, let's say, happen to be small villages where they set up speed traps. I was a victim of one some 30 years ago, at least I felt that way. I got a speeding ticket and went into mayor's court and paid back then it was $150, which I thought was a lot, very high. But, we don't write a lot of speeding tickets. We write a lot of tickets for disorderly conduct, underage drinking, things of that nature. So I don't believe, you'll have the final say. I mean, if you get criticism that we're abusing it, we're going to model our rates after Monroe's and what Area 1 Court now charges. So I don't think you'll find that's the case.
I'm sorry, Councilor Frank, go ahead.
Well, okay. I know Councilor French regrets that she's not able to be here tonight. She's expressed some concerns as well, and I share many of them. I alluded to wanting to have maybe some kind of report. I know the report we're basing this on is 9 years ago, and perhaps the outcome itself would still say, if you're going to have some kind of court, it would have to be a mayor's court. But things are very different now than they were then in terms of, what is the cost-benefit analysis of having officers going to Hamilton versus staying here. I feel like when I was on PCRC, we spent a lot of time in a working group talking and meeting with different people before any appropriations were made for a social service liaison. There was just a lot. I think we knew a lot more. We understood a lot more. This feels like a much bigger step to do without as much information. And when Councilor French mentioned a report, it's not necessarily like spending whatever it would be, $30,000 to hire an outside agency, but perhaps there's some ways that we could find out estimated costs for labor or overtime going to Hamilton versus staying here. We could do nothing, right? Like that is an option, right? Not having a mayor's court at all. And we won't really know what it's like to do nothing with the students around unless we are willing to do that through an academic year, or at least half of the academic year. We've been saying that, we can wait until the summer, through the summer, but that's still not a good representation of what things will be like. Another possible concern is people can appeal the charge that's done here, right, to Hamilton. And if they're dismissed there, or what have you, we would have spent money on a magistrate to prosecute or levy those rights. Is that the right language that I'm using there? That they might get overturned and not end up having to pay the city the fees, right? I mean, I just feel like there are a lot of things we don't quite know yet. And I feel like it's feeling a little bit rushed, actually. I've expressed some concern before, but I'm wondering, I'd like to hear from other council members, and I'm willing to make a motion as well, but Mr. Kennard.
So a couple things. One, by way of background, I was a public defender for 11 years, was deputy director in Montgomery County. I've appeared in mayor's courts representing criminal defendants. There is no question that there are segments in Ohio, areas in Ohio, where mayor's courts have been abused. When Chief Justice Moyer was with the Ohio Supreme Court, he led an initiative because he was not a fan of mayor's courts. But the mayor's courts that I've experienced as a criminal defense attorney in cities like Springboro or Moraine, where I appeared in Moraine as a public defender, I found them to be ethical. I found them to be, in some ways, cost-effective. And there's a system that's set in place. One of the things that there would be a public defender that would be under contract, so there would be court-appointed counsel for those indigents. There's also a number of soft expenses that you've alluded to that I think we're going to be finding out, because the court can't be established until Hamilton's already up and running, so that there's going to be some data coming back as this process starts. But there's other things too. So, for example, I'm hypothesizing that there's going to be a number of students that can't get to court, and I suspect there's going to be warrants that are issued for them that is going to lead to some attention by either the Miami Police Department or by the City Police Department. Warrants by definition mean you take people into custody. Custody means you got to book them in. There are a lot of variables there that haven't all been determined. I've certainly had a lot of discussions with Doug about this and the implementation. I think that going forward to get the data and the appropriation doesn't necessarily mean the money gets spent either. But I will just say this, as the law director, I think that the exploration of the mayor's court is a good idea for the benefit of this community. And then as someone who's appeared in them before, I think that there are benefits that accrue to the community and the citizens or the population that would be served as well.
Let's see what order I've got. Let's go Mr. Vince and Mr. Snavely.
So maybe it's because I'm an attorney, but and I've had some experience in this area, but I'm extremely comfortable with what we're doing here because, as I said the last time we discussed this, council is going to retain oversight over this function, right? If things go sideways, it's council's job to call it out. I'm going to be watching the mayor's court like a hawk to make sure that it's not being abused, it's not being used improperly. The other thing that maybe the city attorney can weigh in on is it's probably pretty doubtful that someone who comes to mayor's court is going to actually appeal their case to municipal court. I mean, that's going to cost them a fortune, right?
Yeah. Well, it's almost certain. What you typically see is, I've seen both sides. The mayor's court that I appeared in Montgomery County as a public defender, you didn't want to go to the municipal court where they were affiliated. You'd rather be there because the mayor was far more lenient than the two judges at the time. I suspect that there may be some truth in that too as it relates to Hamilton versus the mayor's court here.
Right. I mean, just because I'm comfortable with it, I understand that the rest of you are not as comfortable with the legal system and might have discomfort with it. But I'm just saying personally that I'm gonna do what I can to make sure that this is done correctly, and I have my eye on it.
I'm not uncomfortable with the idea of a mayor's court. I'm uncomfortable with a pig in a poke, which we've got $139,000, and we don't know how a dime of that is actually allocated.
That's not true.
Well, where is our budget? We need to see the budget on what is, if you're gonna interrupt me to say that, then you had better produce for us how that $139,000, it's not in our packet, it is not in our information that we have, we just have a number. We don't know where that number came from, we don't know what it, and you may very well have a very clear idea of where that money is attributable, but we don't know that. So I think it's very difficult as city councilors for us to vote on putting something in the budget when we don't know where that number comes from. You could have put in $530,000 with the same amount of information that we've had.
Well, I did send out a line item budget to council. It's not in the packet, but there was a line item budget that we sent out.
I don't have that.
Okay. Look, I know this is a brand-new thing, and there seems to be some doubts about our figures. We're going to have at least 3 months of going to Hamilton and seeing how that works out.
So why are we doing this today?
I'm asking myself that question.
Because I think you could come back at our next meeting with a budget and more information about Monroe, and we'd all go, great.
I won't know what I have to pay the magistrate until we find someone.
Right.
It'll be an hourly rate, and I don't know what I'll have to pay the prosecutor. It'll be an hourly rate, and a lot of that will depend on the caseload, and anyway.
Councilor Nellis.
think this goes back to the meeting, I think it was maybe 2 previous to this one, when the issue was first brought up of the mayor's court. And I was asking for an updated report. Now, it's been repeated again. So I think that there is a lack of information that we need to fill in. And as was just described by Bill, if we got a little more of that nuts and bolts of what's going to be involved, where the money is actually being identified to be spent, that might make it a little easier for another vote on this, maybe at the next meeting with some more of this information.
I mean, that's fine with me. Just to back up the city manager, I don't remember you sending it the budget. Like, you had like $70,000 for the prosecutor, $70,000 for the magistrate.
I'll
you know,
check. Maybe I didn't, and I apologize if I did.
I mean, you did send it, but, I mean, is it an option to, like, I mean, do you need the seed money, like, right away?
Not right away. I mean,
Okay.
I need something in place before I can hire a court.
So I just didn't know if the.
Before we can purchase the software, which I do have firm prices on that. You know,
I mean, I don't know if it would make sense to ask for less now and then come back later in the year and ask for more. I don't know.
Well,
Is that what we're really talking about?
Shame on me for not pushing back on staff when they said you ought to ask for more, because, you know, and they were asking the same questions. Do you really know? No, I don't yet. This is a brand-new venture, but, you know, I don't think we're far off the mark, but, you know, council, you can make your own decision. I'll respect it.
Mr. Brackett.
Yeah, I feel like there's 3 different things going on here. Like Jim, I agree, I'm not worried about us abusing it, because I'm also gonna be watching this like a hawk, and we're gonna put in rules, I'm sure, that make sure it can't get abused. Either increasing
It
our
won't be
revenue or
abused.
increasing our budget
Yeah,
with the
no,
revenue.
it won't be abused.
Can't happen, right? So I'm not worried about that. I'm actually not worried about the budget, because I trust us. If that money's not used, it'll come back. I have no worries there. I do worry in general that this happened really fast, which I said when this vote first came up, that it was like, here's our choices. And one, we didn't explore the do nothing option, which doesn't mean much in itself, but it creates optionality for what else we can do with our building, with our resources, with everything else. So I agree with Amber, and I think Alex, because I think you're representing maybe some of her thoughts, that I would love to slow down and consider that optionality, even though I too don't have an issue with going forward with the mayor's court, as long as it's the best choice. I just don't know if that is yet.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand.
I appreciate what everyone's saying about, you know, watching the mayor's court like a hawk. And again, not necessarily entirely opposed to it. Ohio and Louisiana are the only states that have this practice. But I'm also thinking about like what systems are in place when we're not around, right? Like, you know, people run for council, different people, like in the future, is this something that could be abused by other people? I mean, we talk about policies that are in place, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. But I think we've had a robust discussion. I would like to make a motion, see if I can get a second, to remove the line item for issue 1 from the appropriations budget. So removing the $139,000 and passing it without that. That's my motion. Is that an acceptable motion? A motion to remove that item from the appropriations budget. And, yeah, that is the motion. That's the motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second.
Now we have to discuss.
Yeah, now I
the
have,
amendment.
now I have
just
a
go-
question.
All right.
So I think that's not a bad motion, simply because I just think we need, I'm not opposed to the mayor's court idea. I feel very uncomfortable. Everything else on the budget here, we kind of know where the money's going and what it's for. And it's just a real big thing that we don't know exactly how it's put together. apparently something was sent that I missed, but I just would like some time for us to think about it and to find out what the numbers are. And I think when you go to Monroe, you'll probably learn a lot more about how they pay their prosecutor and their magistrate and so forth. And that will be informative. And the number that you come up with may be higher than this, it may be lower than this, but it will at least be informed. And so that's why I seconded the motion.
Mr. Bench?
So I'm not necessarily opposed to delaying this for a month or however long we need to consider it, but I don't necessarily agree with the motion because all it does is strike the $139,000 number, but it doesn't say anything about like what has to happen next. Like, I don't want to just strike that and then leave that, with no direction. I mean, maybe part of the motion is, with the city manager providing a report on or before blank date for council's consideration, something like that. I don't know what information everyone is looking for, but I want to make it sure that like the city knows what information we particularly want so it can responsibly address it in a timely manner. So we don't come here again in 3 weeks and like have the same discussion, asking for different numbers.
So I agree with that, but I think there's almost two sides to it. One is to figure out the near-term budget issues. That can happen pretty quick. The other is, do we want to put this off for part of a school year semester to see what happens when we do a do-nothing option for several months? Which also slows down the whole process so we get time to figure out the budget and everything else. I think I would be for that.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. For what I consider the mayor's court, what's been presented to us is all the reasons why it's a good idea, but there's also what the pitfalls are if we decide not to do that. And I think the pitfalls are effect on some businesses in town.
Yeah.
Certainly, if I was in a law office that primarily dealt with people who were coming to this court, I would be in a quandary to know, should we just pack up and move to
Right.
Hamilton? Or should we stick around and see how it goes? So I don't know that that's the case. I just really want more definition. As far as the motion, I'm not worried that Doug's going to forget about it. I think if through this discussion, he knows to come back at our next meeting with some detail, and it'll be fine, and we'll have a motion to adjust, and it'll be based on information.
Well, that's sort of the split, though. Some of us are worried about the budget, some of us aren't. I'm not worried about that. Others are worried about the long-term.
So
That's why
just
I'm
an-
articulating my issue.
I know, I just don't know how it
Just-
breaks up.
I'm loath to comment, but I will on this one, and maybe it's not appropriate, but it seems to me there's a difference between an appropriation and an expenditure. The appropriation does not lead to the expenditure, and what you're saying is you want more information, and you could still do the appropriation and then say to staff, we don't want you to do any expenditures until we see it because we want to approve it.
I'm okay with postponing it. I mean, that's fine.
So the other
Let's-
thing,
let's
Jason,
move
in-
on.
in response to,
159, or it could be
Well,
120.
it's,
directly in response to your question, I think another cost is going to be having our police officers have to run to Hamilton all the time, right?
yeah, they do some of that now.
Yeah, but if we don't have a mayor's court here, all those cases are in Hamilton, and our police force is going to have to go to Hamilton.
Yeah, when they have to go to court, they'll have to go to Hamilton.
But that's sort of the.
And they'll be
like,
out
to
of
me,
town
we
during
would
that
get a
time.
sense of that, right,
What?
for a
But,
semester.
Yeah.
It's going to happen because we know we have a docket here and it's going away.
Yeah.
I don't think we know all the problems and/or benefits that come through it, because I think the whole thing went too fast, but that's me. And I expressed that the first time this came up.
I'm wondering if I can ask Chief Jones, do you have anything to add to this conversation that you'd like to share? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just did.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
No, I mean, yeah, certainly we'll be sending officers to Hamilton. We'll be running paperwork to Hamilton as well, so that'll be an expense. But there's also expenses with Mayor's Court that we haven't really sat down as a staff and talked about. That's kind of the purpose of going to Monroe tomorrow. I want to ask questions about what happens when someone fails to appear on your warrant in Mayor's Court and they have to go to jail. Will the jail accept them? There's some challenges. We got back from Monroe on that, and the cost of sending someone to jail. So, I mean, there's costs both ways, and that's, as staff, I'm more concerned with the operations. I'm not as concerned about the revenue, the funding. My concern is operations, and in fact, I mean, with listening to council talk about being a watchdog, you know, I'm thinking, are you a watchdog on the police? Because, you know, if we're writing more tickets this week, you know, versus next month. So there's all kinds of concerns with this that I'm not gonna give you an answer. I'm gonna be like a lawyer and say it depends. So,
Thank you.
And, but yeah, so we're still weighing through that, and we'll learn a lot tomorrow, I think, by talking to Monroe.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is it possible to table a part of it? I know Robert's rule, but I have no idea about that answer.
I would suggest going ahead with the motion. We'll be fine.
Okay.
You know, because we can put
Thank
another
you.
one on at the next meeting. It takes 2 readings. It's effective immediately. You know,
All right,
this will postpone advertising for the court clerk, but that's fine.
all right.
You know, I'm not in any rush, and I guess maybe I've come off that way, but, you know, I forget that none of you were on council when we did that study. So I have to remind myself, and I don't think the study's out of date. If anything, all the costs have gone up because you pay more for staff.
My issue with the study was that we didn't consider the do-nothing option and what optionality it provides us there, which, again, might not be better, but I don't think it was ever really considered.
Well, you know, we've had that discussion, the fact that the police are gonna spend more time in Hamilton. It's gonna have an effect on the uptown businesses, you know, but other than that, you know, it's not that bad of a deal. But, you know, I guess I'm concerned about the businesses. I mean, students are gone a month between the autumn and spring quarter. They're gone for basically 3 months in the summer. You know, our businesses struggle during that time period. Why take away the business that they get from this court?
I
And
think we
so-
need more misdemeanors and low-level crime to pump up our businesses.
I'm sorry, there's one other thing I want to, the other question that nobody's raised yet directly is that the officers who are going to be going to Hamilton are likely the officers who are patrol officers, because they're going to, the ones who are citing. So the question is generically, does that have an impact on the public safety component, because are there fewer officers on the street during whatever segment? I don't think that requires an answer, it's just a
Yeah.
factoid that's relevant.
And we're gonna know more of that because there'll be at least 3 months that we'll be going over to Hamilton, but it'll be 3 months, probably 1.5 is when the students will be gone, so it's pretty light caseload then, typically. And so, but we're gonna have some experience there.
So just for clarification's sake, are there any specific expenses or costs that council wants to see included in a potential budget? Like, or do you want like a 6-month budget, a 1 year? I mean, how are we gonna do this? 'Cause
We'll
I-
develop a 1-year budget. And, I
1
mean,
year?
We had that, and I apologize if I didn't send it out to you. I thought I did. I sent out a whole bunch of information.
It was sent out on
last
March
week.
10th, but.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, every week we're learning more, and we'll be able to give you more information. But this is a brand-new venture. I get it, you know, I mean, you know, I'd love nothing better than not have to work on this, to be quite frank with you.
Can I say something?
You may.
Just from an operational standpoint, because finance is going to kind of be involved. We'll know more tomorrow, once we go with, but from a implementation standpoint, we would rather do it not when the students are here, to be honest with you, because it's going to be a learning curve for all of us, and just like with everything else, that's just my 2 cents. As far as the mayor's court, it really, that kind of stuff doesn't affect me, but figuring out reporting to the state and all of this stuff, I would rather do it when we're not slammed with students as well. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
I suggest we move on. Go ahead and vote on it.
All right.
I suggest we vote on the amendment and get moving.
Yes, let's vote on the amendment. Ms. Barber, you call?
All in favor.
It's a voice
Hmm?
vote.
Voice vote.
Voice
All right.
On the amendment.
On the
Yes,
amendment.
voting on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. All right, the amendment is adopted. Now we'll go back to the original ordinance as amended. And I believe we asked for public comment. Is there any discussion on the rest of the ordinance? All right. Ms. Barber, you may call the roll on the ordinance as amended.
Ms. Ornelas?
Yes.
Mr. Snavely?
Yes.
Mr. Vinch?
Yes.
Mr. Bracken?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes, that ordinance is adopted. We will now move on to announcements and communications. I'll start tonight with Mr. Elliott.
Well, I just have a couple of things. Like was said earlier, we are going to visit Monroe's Mayor's Court. The court clerk has graciously agreed to meet with us, so it'll be Assistant City Manager, Police Chief, Finance Director, and myself. And so we'll learn some more information, and we'll be providing that with you. So the other thing I wanted to share with you is that the Ambassadors Point Community Church, is planning a building on some land that's outside the city, but is contiguous to land that they own within the city. So we're exploring the annexation of these 3 parcels. So I think you'll have an annexation resolution to vote on maybe within the next month. And I plan to serve as the statutory agent. So I'm working on that petition now. This is basically 3 parcels that are contiguous to their parcels on College Corner Pike. It would be 6.753 acres, so I'll keep you posted on that. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Otto?
I don't have anything.
All right. Chief Jones?
Well, it appears most of my student audience has left. I had notes prepared for them, but I was going to mention that this Thursday will be the last day of Area 1 Court. Ironically, it's also the infamous Green Beer Day. So you'll see a heavy police presence. We'll be out focused on safety, trying to deter. As you have probably experienced, it's much less of an event than it used to be, I think, due to some of that police presence. So we hope that will continue. But for the students that are here, maybe watching, they'll also be leaving for spring break. Just some tips for them is please don't leave your cars on the street. We have a 72-hour ordinance for a reason. Water main break, we have to tow your car if it's in the way. Weather, I hope we don't have to deal with weather, but sometimes we do. So please don't leave your cars on the street. Also, sign up for our vacant house checklist. An officer will visit your house, make sure it's secure, and then we have contact info if there's any problem found. And then lastly, just to drive safely and take traffic safety into mind as you head out and into spring break. So just a few of those tips I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Reinhardt? Chief Dethridge?
We're ready for spring break.
Mr. Smith?
Couple quick things. Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Just wanted to announce that last week we kicked off our master planning process with the consultants. They were in town, met with the city manager and some of us on staff, and we've kicked off the master planning. So there'll be more to come. There's some email correspondence you may or may not have seen yet. And the next big chapter in this year-long exercise is April 22nd and 23rd. The consultants will be back in town. We'll be holding steering committee meetings, focus groups, and what I'm really excited about, with the big emphasis on community engagement, there'll be a town hall for the public to attend. There'll be some surveying going out in the meantime. So they're doing a very thorough job, and there'll be more news to come as we get all that detail wrapped together and make some announcements. But April 22nd, there'll be a town hall, Parks Master Planning. It's pretty exciting. Also, just a quick update on a partnership. We were really excited to get done with Miami Aquatic Center, the Miami Rec Center. So we'll be partnering with them and holding our in-service for lifeguard certifications. That may seem like kind of out in the weeds, kind of a small detail, but that is very impactful for our staff, as typically they would wait till it warmed up and our pool was open to certify the 40 or so lifeguards. Now, with this partnership with Miami and an indoor pool, they can get certified ahead of the season, which may allow us to even open up the facility earlier, for the community. So that's exciting. And then lastly, or second to last, excuse me, we will now be a Red Cross CPR first aid training facility, which cost us nothing, at the Tri-Community Center. And several of our staff, as well as some of Chief Jones's officers, will be certified as CPR first aid instructors. Again, huge advantage there for us, because then we'll be able to certify, those instructors will be able to certify city staff throughout the year. So huge for recruitment and even retention for a lot of the Parks and Rec staff, as many of those seasonal positions we require to have first aid CPR. So excited to get those two training opportunities and partnerships underway. And then lastly, my shameless plug for seasonal hiring. We are still looking to fill positions. Go to the City of Oxford website. If you know anyone looking for a summer job, please apply. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Mr. Perry? Ms. Green? Ms. Barber?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Canoa? Mr. Snavely?
So, 100 years ago, the Kiwanis Club of Oxford was founded. So this year they're celebrating their 100th anniversary, and one of the things that they do is the annual Pancake Day, which almost everybody that I've ever talked to in Oxford has been to. But I want to alert people that it's April 25th. Also, I have some tickets that I will make available to council and staff, and there will be no charge. So just, if you want to donate something to Kiwanis later, you're welcome to, but these are on me. For everybody else, find somebody who is a Kiwanian and buy some tickets. They're really cheap for all you can eat. It's all inclusive.
Awesome. Just have fun, good luck, and stay safe on Thursday. Nothing more.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for me either.
I have something. The month of March is recognized as Women's History Month. And I want to recognize and congratulate the historic season that the Miami women's basketball team had and their rockin' MAC championship. Way to go, Red Hawks. That was a great game, too. Real nail biter. That's it.
All right, I've got three quick ones. So I learned this week that Rumpke is doing a new program that involves these orange trash bags that you can get at various places, I think Walmart, Kroger's, and Lowe's. And you can put what is known as hard-to-recycle items into them, such as styrofoam peanuts, egg cartons, regular plastic grocery bags, and some styrofoam like takeout containers and things like that. So those are available. I also wanted to say to our student population, make good choices on Thursday. If not, the chief is ready for you. And I would also like to say to both the men's and women's basketball team, a well-felt congratulations, and we are ready to support them in their individual quest for a national championship.
Yeah, that would even be that icing, cherry, and whatever on top.
With that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Vince, second by Councilor Franklin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Would you go? Sure, I've never been to it before.
You've never been to Pancake Day?
That's
Yeah, things were going very quick. It's complicated.
Baptist Point Community Church. And you can go anytime. Right, and I should have mentioned, it's right next to the hotel. The hotel, the Holiday Inn.
He sent us that budget. I
This is 27.
I'm just,
We can go sort of diagonally, but they have.
I know, I'm just assuming I missed it because I.
This parcel,
Yes,
this
sir.
parcel,
Oh.
these two parcels